Jill Valentine is one of the most iconic characters in Resident Evil, though it's a mystery that she's been mostly absent from newer entries. With sources claim Resident Evil Outrage is the third installment in the Revelations series, which not far away from the release of Resident Evil Village, we can expect Jill Valentine there. So before jumping topics, subscribe to the channel. If you are new, click the bell notification icon for instant updates and follow me on Twitter for knowing more interesting and informative topics. Now let's jump in. While the hype surrounding Resident Evil 8 Village is at an all-time high now that the game finally has a release date of May 7th, the game is only the first in what Capcom promises to be a series of releases celebrating Resident Evil's 25th anniversary. One of these projects is rumored to be the third entry in the Resident Evil Revelations series, spin-off entries of the Resident Evil franchise that act as canonical side stories. According to Resident Evil leaker Dusk Golem, Resident Evil Outrage, the working title for Resident Evil Revelations 3, is planned to release within a year from Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil Revelations was originally released on the Nintendo 3DS in 2012. The game was designed with the intention of bringing Resident Evil back to its survival horror roots after the main series took a more action-heavy approach through titles such as Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. The game was later ported to PC, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Wii U in 2013, with Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One ports following in 2017. A sequel followed in 2015 in the form of Resident Evil Revelations 2, an episodic release that released on PC, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, Xbox 360 and Xbox One, with a Nintendo Switch port following. Now it appears that the Resident Evil Revelations series is making its way back to Nintendo platforms, as prominent Resident Evil leaker Dusk Golem has claimed that Resident Evil Outrage, a title featured in Capcom's leaked games lineup last year, is actually Resident Evil Revelations 3, and is currently in development for Nintendo Switch. Furthermore, Dusk Golem expects the game to release within a year from Resident Evil Village. He expects the game to be a Switch-timed exclusive. Much like Monster Hunter Rise, the game will also utilize the RE engine. As Dusk Golem mentions, it seems reasonable to expect Resident Evil Revelations 3 Outrage to release in early 2022, given that Capcom has been somewhat aggressive in releasing Resident Evil titles every year since 2019's Resident Evil 2 Remake, with a remake of Resident Evil 3 following just last year, and Resident Evil 8 Village now only 3 months away. If the game is a Nintendo Switch exclusive, or even timed exclusive, Outrage is likely to be a smaller title than any of the mainline entries in the series, much like the other Revelations games, although it seems unlikely that the game will return to Revelations 2's episodic release schedule. The Resident Evil Revelations series is known for focusing on characters that have been noticeably absent from main series installments in recent years, such as Jill Valentine, Claire Redfield and Barry Burton. While Claire and Leon S. Kennedy are set to appear in Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, an animated Netflix series releasing later this year, it might be safe not to expect either of them to appear in Outrage. However, this entry could mark the canonical return of Jill Valentine, whose last appearance in the franchise's canon was the original Resident Evil Revelations. Speaking of Jill Valentine, she is one of my favorite characters in the franchise, as we have to take a look at the future of the iconic character in the world. Ever since her appearance in the first Resident Evil game alongside Chris Redfield, Jill has been at the forefront of the fight against bioterrorism. So far, she's appeared in 4 mainline Resident Evil games as a major character. Jill's latest appearance was in the 2020 remake of Resident Evil 3, but given that it is a reimagining of the classic 1998 game, it doesn't add anything particularly new to Jill's narrative. Of course, the question now is, what is in store for Jill Valentine in Resident Evil's future? After making her return in last year's remake of Resident Evil 3, Jill's future in the Resident Evil video game franchise remains unclear. In the video game's timeline, Jill's last appearance was in Resident Evil 5, where she was abducted by Albert Wesker and placed under mind control. After encountering Chris Redfield and Shiva Alomar, Jill set free from Wesker's control and aided the BSAA in killing him once and for all. After the events of Resident Evil 5, Jill's status became a mystery until Resident Evil Revelations 2. In an email to Barry Burton, it was revealed that she is still recovering from being placed under mind control, but expresses her longing to go back to field duty. It is worth noting that Resident Evil Revelations 2 is set in 2011, which means that it has been 10 years since Jill Valentine was released from Wesker's control. Given this, it's likely that Jill has returned to active duty as one of the BSAA's agents, but it's a mystery why players haven't seen her in a new Resident Evil game. Now, with Resident Evil Village slated to release in a few months, some wonder whether Jill would make an appearance in the upcoming game. Unfortunately, whether Jill is involved in Resident Evil Village remains unclear, given that she was not revealed in any of the trailers and gameplay footage. Even rumors about the game made no mention of her appearance in Village. However, it wouldn't be impossible if Capcom is only keeping her involvement in Resident Evil Village to surprise players once the full game comes out. It is worth remembering that the upcoming game could be a pivotal point in Chris Redfield's story, where it is implied that Resident Evil Village could be his last. Of course, given that Chris and Jill have been thick as thieves since the first game, many will be disappointed if Capcom would end Chris' story without having Jill involved in some way. As mentioned above, Capcom still hasn't confirmed Resident Evil Revelations 3. The game has long been the subject of rumors and speculation. Last November, notable Resident Evil leaker Aesthetic Gamer stated that the rumored game Resident Evil Outrage, reportedly launching in Q4 2021, is actually Resident Evil Revelations 3. The leaker clarified that the game might not be called Revelations 3 when it is released, but it is for all intents and purposes. The report did not clarify which character would serve as the primary protagonist of the rumored game. Many believe that it could be between series veterans Jill Valentine, who also starred in the first Revelations game, and Claire Redfield, the protagonist of Revelations 2. Interestingly enough, Aesthetic Gamer reaffirmed the Revelations 3 rumor recently, stating the game will be released within a year of Resident Evil Village. In terms of when to expect a Revelations 3, either in late 2021 or early 2022. Unfortunately for Jill Valentine fans, Aesthetic Gamer predicted that the main protagonist of Revelations 3 will be Rebecca Chambers. Additionally, they also said that there would be 2 other returning characters to be featured in the game, which may be Jill and Claire. All things considered, Jill Valentine's fate in the Resident Evil video game franchise is still a big question. However, fans shouldn't lose hope given Jill's importance in the overall plot of Resident Evil. Although Capcom may not feature her in Resident Evil Village and the rumored Revelations 3 game, it is likely that the company might have big plans for Jill. Fans' interest in Jill never wavered, and has only grown more extensive, especially after her iconic appearance in Resident Evil 3 Remake. I personally want Jill to make a comeback to the franchise as a protagonist or a surprise appearance role. So what do you think, guys? If you want Jill Valentine back into the next installments, leave a like and comment your thoughts and share this video. Until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.